things this man is doing is just phenomenal. Some of you may have heard of something called MODE, mobile decisioning. Yes, it's providing everything from phone credit to cash to pay everything from bills, etc., to people on their mobile phones. For that, he has about 190 million customers around the world and growing exponentially by the day. That's just one thing. He does so many. He's involved in agriculture. He's involved in investing. And he's investing in his own country. That's the phenomenal thing about this man. Oh, by the way, on weekends, he's a preacher. That's right, a reverend. A church on Mombasa Road. You may have heard of it. It's called Purpose Center Church. Yeah, he's that guy. 2 words. Sit back. Oh, by the way, his Twitter handle is at Julian Kyula or Chula, depending on which part of the country you're from. Mine is at Koinange Jeff. The hashtag is JKL. Reverend Julian Kyula. It is Chula, isn't it?
It's Chula. That's right.
But people call you Kyula and you're cool with that.
I'm okay.
Cool.
That works.
Kyula is cool.
Kyula is cool.
As long as you're not from Central Province.
Let's not go there, Jeff. Yeah.
Rev, man.
I grew up in Central
Province.
Oh, you
did, huh?
They call me...
Shora?
Yeah.
You know, I'm so impressed with you, man. You know, and I just remembered when I saw you at Dr. Jorge Mungai's funeral, and you were there throughout the week, and really, you motivated a lot of people, and you spoke very well and preached very well. But I remember you were an investor in the movie Leo.
Yes, I was.
You're one of the investors.
Yeah.
Executive producer, investor.
That was an exciting venture.
It was good, wasn't it?
Very exciting.
And it's still doing well, by the way.
Still doing well. Still going all over the world.
We're on DSTV now.
We gotta do this.
Watch out.
You did a good job on that movie, man. Jeff.
Lupita, step aside.
Jeff, here comes Jeff.
The thug.
You're good.
No.
You're good.
No, man.
I'm serious.
But listen, congratulations.
Hey, thank you.
And what I'm trying to instill in Kenyans is the fact that we'll get to your successes right now, but at 33,
yeah,
you had this business and you thought you were the bee's knees.
Yeah.
You thought this was going to take off.
Yeah.
What was it about?
Well, look, the very interesting lessons of life. At that age, we had this great thing going. It looked great, and everything was going well. I got very ambitious, and I knew that this was going to be a big thing. We were going to do some very large call centers here. We had aligned everything, and then we had our elections. And every investor from out there that was going to come and work with us just said, let's wait and see what's going to happen to Kenya. While we were waiting to see what was going to happen to Kenya, the global economic crisis happened. All hell that could break loose broke loose. And it just didn't become what we thought it would. And so I was devastated.
Yeah, because you had invested in it.
I had invested in it. I had people that had invested in it. And so I had raised local capital, and you know, it was tough. It was tough. Kenya's a tough place to raise capital, and so I met with one of the founders of a large organization that's doing very well now. But he told me I failed 6 times, and each time these same people kept giving me money in Silicon Valley. But in Kenya, in Nairobi, let me just tell you, if you lose money, don't try raising any other money in this city. It's hard.
You're blacklisted.
It's hard. You're blacklisted, you're labeled, your reputation's down the drain. And so it was tough. It was very tough. And so it takes a lot to recover in this city. But I don't think it's easy anywhere. And I'm not trying to say it's easy anywhere.
And as you were failing, as you were crashing and burning, every Sunday you were at church.
I was at church telling people everything's going to be all right. And then I'd turn and say, yeah, right. But I believed it, Jeff.
You did?
I think, yeah, I believed it. I believe that the journey of life is full of potholes and things that, and there's no better university. I tell people the best university is the university of fail. And when you fail, you just learn a way not to do things. You learn how to do business better. You become, one of the things my new investors told me in the next venture is, I said, one of the reasons we're happy to invest in you is because you failed before. Because when you failed before, you're not big-headed.
Yeah.
You're level-headed, ready to listen, ready to learn, and you're not the, you know, and the other thing I learned is make sure to have people that are very much opposing everything you're saying. Just have people that don't agree with you.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It's nothing. It's actually one of the best things. So this was, you don't learn that stuff anywhere else except on the job. So this was what happened, and it was exciting. But I was in church telling people everything's gonna be all right, and I had all these people looking at me saying, you know, are you sure?
Yeah.
But I had an amazing wife through all this, and that was one of my biggest strengths, is this girl.
Speaking of your wife, at Dr. Jorgen Mungai's funeral again.
Why did you have such a smile?
Because you announced that number 3 was about to arrive. Remember?
Yes. Number 3 arrived.
Oh, congratulations.
The 3 arrived 7 days ago.
Son, another son.
Another son.
So 3 boys.
I'm working hard. Working hard.
What's the secret?
Working hard.
So you got 3 boys now.
3 boys.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Exciting.
How soon after the failure were you able to bounce back, Rev? Because, you know, people give up very easily.
Right.
People, when they slip and fall,
right,
it's so difficult to get up and go.
Absolutely. I think just, you know, I mean, I didn't have any reference points. I wasn't trying to read any books at that time on failure, because I think there's every book on the shelf about failing and how to get up. It's a different experience when you're going through it. You know, Jeff, when you tell people that, you know, this many years ago I went through this and it took 4 years to recover, or 5 years. It sounds easy when you're speaking about it. You know, 2020 vision is always, you know, hindsight is always 2020 vision. So, you know, you come and you say 5 years, I went through it for 10 years. But when you have to live every day of 365 days a year, at that time you're going through it, it's tough. So to avoid depression, to avoid giving up, to avoid changing course on purpose and vision, one of the things I had going for me was all these amazing people that were in church that I kept telling, we're going to do this. So I couldn't turn around.
Do you think they believed you, Julian? Do you think they believed you?
I don't think most of them did. I don't think a lot of people believe what you say you're going to do until you start doing it. Yes. The evidence of anything anyone says, no one is judged by what they start. Everyone is judged by what they finish. And so I was okay with them not believing it, but you know, there's that thing on the inside of you that the purpose is being driven in there, and you've got God on your side, but you've also got this thing as a man, and you're like, God, you've got to make sure that you don't shame the word that you gave to me regarding what it is you want me to do. So somehow things had to start working. This is only one of them, but you know, it's just about keeping on building this confidence in people that we can do it. We can do it.
Were you always this religious, Julian? I mean, you were telling me earlier on you were an elder at Baptist Church at 18.
At 18.
I used to go to Baptist Church.
You did, Jeff? You used to go to church?
Once upon a long ago.
Were you at Nairobi Baptist Church?
Yeah, the one opposite the mortuary.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a little thing then. They hadn't extended it.
That's when I was in that church. It was
Come on.
small.
So maybe we crossed paths.
We probably did, Jeff. You were probably not a very religious church goer. I'm kidding. But yeah, I was an elder there at the age of 18.
Wow.
And I was working with them on the youth stuff, and it was exciting, very exciting. I got very engaged in church at a young age. So I'm not, you know, I'm not one of those guys that necessarily partied. I had family that loved partying and everything, but I didn't necessarily spend too much time. I just somehow, even without spending time in church, I just didn't do too much of the clubs and all. I tried.
Did you want to be a preacher? Did you want to be you didn't?
No. Okay. I can tell. Until much later in my life, I never ever thought I'd be standing in front of people telling them what the Bible is saying. I always wanted to help someone who does that. I never thought I'd be the one. And so at some point, this became clearer and clearer to me when I grew a little older. And that's, you know, one thing led to another.
Yeah.
And I heard God clearly just putting my spirit that you need to do this. Go back to Kenya and do this. And this is where we are today.
So maybe your name should not be Julian. Maybe it should be Jonah.
Because I was refusing.
And you see, I know my Bible.
You know your Bible.
I know my Bible. What was that place? Nineveh? Was it Nineveh?
Nineveh. He refused to go.
My man.
Then he got angry when God didn't punish them.
That's right.
Did you know that, Jeff?
No. I missed that page.
Wow. Exciting.
Yeah. So this new phenomenon of yours, mode, which is mobile decisioning.
Right.
What does it mean? What does it do?
So this is what I wanted to do. One of the things I kept thinking about is how do we change? And I don't mind sharing this because I think sometimes we're scared of sharing ideas, and I'm never scared of sharing ideas because I think it's not about the people knowing the idea. It's about how you execute. That's one of our big weaknesses is we don't execute right. Yeah. And so I hear a lot of people here talk about ideas. They're entitled to them. Oh, so-and-so stole my idea. This company stole our idea. Or, this phone company here stole this idea. No, it's not that. It's that, I keep telling people, and it's something that people need to understand. Anytime you have an idea, understand that 1 million people in the world got it that same night, that same time. The difference not going to be getting an idea. The difference is not in a business plan. The difference is in execution. Start. If you don't start, you can go around in circles. And so here I was, and so I'm a firm believer that where the world is going around digitization and the mobile phone, and looking at where we are, I was watching the iPhone 6 launch yesterday, just looking at where payments are going, phone is going, banking is going, it's very clear globally that there's an absolute shift in how we have known money movement and transaction databases versus people history. Where's data? What are people doing? How are people using? What are people habits? Where's the world going? We've got all these kids nowadays going to a television. My sons go to my father's television and they try to do this
on the screen.
And they're like, what's this old screen doing here? Why is it not moving? Yeah. You've got a generation that's very much driven by immediate consumption. And if they can't get to be able to say, I want the next version of Angry Birds now for that $1, then you lose them. You lose them. And therefore, it's a question about how fast can we get people to get the convenience they need, or how can we create the convenience people need to do what they need to do. And that's how that's what mode is evolving into, is creating payments platforms that enable people to be able to access credit very quickly, or to access discounts very quickly, or to access something very quickly, no matter where they are. On a train in Singapore, on a train in Nairobi, it doesn't matter. You should be able to access a certain amount of money through some pre-analyzed data about you. That's what we do.
Sort of what credit cards used to be the last 4 or 5 decades or whatever it is. Right. Now we don't need a credit card. Now it's your phone.
It's your phone. It's your phone, it's convenience, it's the ability to get into a matatu and know that you're pre-approved for 500 shillings and you can just slide it over and not have to worry about any charges or anything, because we have different ways that we may end up making that money, or very minimal charges. And that's the way we think that global economy is going.
And you have 190 million customers so far?
Yeah, growing, Jeff, growing. My goal and the company's goal was to have 500 million customers by the end of 2015. And so far, we've done a pretty good job.
You're on course.
We're on course. Yeah. We have over 190 million customers now and growing. So we're not just in Kenya, we're across Africa. We've gone into the Middle East. We've gone into Asian countries. We've gone into Europe. And just being able to understand different places, different solutions. And let me tell you, the beauty about starting is that it's never going to be what you thought. By the time you get there, people start to say, could you also do this for us? Could you also do this for us? The appreciation by the Western world that Africa is now entering an amazing place of innovation, that in itself, absolutely amazing.
And speaking of Africa, you're in about, what, more than a dozen countries right now?
We're now in 18 countries. 18 countries. Last year, we had the privilege of becoming IBM's Global Entrepreneurs of the Year.
Wow.
We didn't make much noise about it because we were so busy.
Yes.
But this is just to explain to people. There were people from Singapore, China, Asia, LATAM, name it, all over the world that compete for this. And so when they did the Africa leg, we won the Africa leg, we won the LATAM leg, and then we were in New York. And when they announced the winners, we almost fell. It's never happened before for Africa. But they had, IBM, this global organization, and many other awards that we've gotten over the way. Right now, we are one of the top future 50 European companies in the UK.
Come on.
And this is an African company that started here, innovated by people here, helping people here. And so we've gone on just innovating. We started with airtime, but the evolution has become that we understand that the mobile phone's becoming a place of absolute interaction, and we must tap into that.
Are you like me, Julian? Do you believe in this continent the way I do? Because I always look at the numbers. I say 1 billion people in Africa. 1 billion people.
1 billion people. I mean, we are now consuming more mobile phones than Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, we are growing, a growing continent. Kenya alone, I think, when I looked at the statistics, says by 2030, Kenya will have a 60 million population. I was shocked, and that's from the Kenya Bureau of Statistics. When you look at Africa, where we're going, educated people coming up, and so there's an amazing skill, amazing innovation, amazing. The promise is amazing, Jeff. There's no excuse, and that's why I think a lot of these shenanigans we see sometimes with our excitement so much in politics and everything.
Yeah.
I refuse to focus too much on the now. We've got to keep our eyes on the future, and I think any generation doing that is doing the right thing.
Which brings me to the blueprint. You just brought this, and you recommend this book, don't you, by George B. Aite?
George B. Aite has written a book called Africa Unchained. It helps me a lot. Just reading this book has helped me understand there's been a cultural betrayal. We blame tribes, and let me tell you, there's nothing wrong with tribes. There's everything wrong with tribalism. Yeah. Nothing wrong with tribes. Tribes are given to us by God. You have 12 tribes of Israel. Every one of those tribes has an amazing gift and diversity that they bring to the table. You're not the same. And let me tell you, it's not the tribes, because we know countries with one tribe.
That's right, and have fought for decades.
And have fought for decades.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to put the blame on the wrong thing. We have an absolute leadership gap, an aspiration gap, a gap that's not looking at the challenges of today and saying, we actually have a very selfish generation as one of the core problems. What we must become is selfless. And how do you become selfless? By focusing your mind on the next generation, making sure they have much better than what you had. That only comes with looking ahead.
Yeah, my good friend Thabo Mbeki said the 21st century belongs to Africa. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree 100%. Let me tell you, when you sit in, we were in Silicon Valley with my friend, and they were sitting there looking at us as this African company, and you should have seen the whole room, mouths open and everything, nobody believing that such innovation is coming out of Africa. This is what I tell the young people. Do you write code for video games? Write, keep writing, don't sleep, wake up, go back to it and do it. Consistency is rewarded over time. Some of the people want something very quickly. We need to stop that microwave mentality in this generation. But the world is ready for Africa. Every fund you can imagine, every organization you can imagine is trying to find footprint here. Last night news, they said that, I was listening, that 400 million hectares of agricultural land across the world is what is available as arable land for agriculture. 250 million of those hectares are in Africa.
More than half of that.
More than half. The future does belong to Africa.
You bring up a very good point, Reverend, because I want to take a break, come back and talk about your interest in agriculture.
Sure.
Where did it come from? Where did you see this? I mean, what is it? I mean, we always talk about agriculture being the backbone of this country and of Africa.
Right.
I want to hear more about that. And also, how do you find time to do this purpose-centered church stuff, man? I mean, you're so busy doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Where'd you find the time? And also, how do you reconcile the two?
Right.
On the one hand, you're making some change.
Right.
And the church stuff.
Right.
Unless you give half of it to Reverend Julian Kyula. His Twitter handle is @JulianKyula. I tell you, Mike, he's not even 40 years old. He's 39. You're going to celebrate 40 in a big way? Big
come
way.
on, you have to be there. You're the man.
No, you're the man.
You got to be there.
My goodness. Mobile decisioning, purpose-centered church, etc., etc., etc. Listen to the man speak, folks. If you've fallen and slipped and fallen again, you can get up. Julian is a living example. He says, you gotta get up.
Yes.
And we gotta take a break. JKL on the poolside of the Intercontinental Hotel. We'll be back in a moment.